right, welcome into another edition of the Grown Man's Podcast. My name's Tom, and across from me, the man, the myth, the legend, Hattie. How you doing today, Hattie?
Well, my team's not going to the Super Bowl, so but other than that, I'm doing okay.
Have you been standing on the edge of a bridge recently? Maybe the top of a building?
Almost,
no,
but
okay.
not quite.
All right, so not
it
that
was a
bad.
long day at work, I'll say that. When you go to work, when you're like a team and everybody knows it,
yeah.
they're like, oh, how you doing?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's better. That's better than...
It's like, I'm not doing well. How about you?
Yes.
Thanks for bringing it up. Just kidding.
And you might have been able to discern, if you're a discerning listener, a third laughter coming from the earbuds or the microphone or speaker, wherever you're listening from. That is the laughter of one Barie. How you doing today, Barie?
Yeah, I'm fantastic.
Fantastic.
Just like Hattie. Yeah.
Look at that. And you know what? I actually believe Barry's doing fantastic. Unlike Hattie, who always lies and says fantastic. I believe Barry's doing fantastic.
Well, you see, that's because my life doesn't depend on a sports team.
Well, that's easy to say when you're a Patriots fan.
I had my rough week a couple weeks ago, so I'm over that now. I'm getting to enjoy seeing the Packers go out, seeing the Titans lose.
Man, that's rough. Hating on you right off the bat.
Hating on right off the bat.
Shots fired. I like to see it. Now, Barie, you were supposed to come on the Monday after the Patriots lost.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I may have scurfed out on that week.
That was interesting.
Yeah, very, very convenient that
It was.
it's supposed to come on right after the Patriots lost, and then
couldn't
make it.
problems or work or something.
Yeah.
No, actually, I was working that week, so... Yeah.
So all my joy and adulation at the at the thought of the Patriots losing the wild card round to the lowly Titans. Unfortunately for me, that has all subsided. So that's passed. But we do have an interesting slate of games that happened here this weekend. We already mentioned it a little bit. Hattie's Packers lost, but we'll get into that when we do the Grown Man's.
Oh, we'll get into it. Did you see the text that I sent out today with like the what people who they want to win in the Super Bowl, and it's like 5% the Chiefs, 5% the 49ers, and then the other 90% is just people are just happy the Patriots aren't in it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Huge bluey.
And I definitely think that's probably the case. It's just we all have Patriots exhaustion.
Franchise
Do you have
fatigue.
Patriots exhaustion, Barie?
There's
got to be some level of
that.
it.
No. I mean, if you're a fan of a team, you just keep rooting for them, and you're happy they won.
That's true.
But the next year, you want to see them win again. That's just the way it is.
I can't imagine what that. I mean, because how old are you, Barie?
23 now.
23. So essentially for your entire life, and even probably before you started watching football, really, the Patriots have just been a dominant force in the world of sports.
Yeah, that's true. I was really young when they started to go to Super Bowls with Brady, with the Rams, and that's why I started to become one of their fans.
I'm curious, how does the fear of failure, because you've never had to deal with failure in your sporting, at least with football. I don't know. Do you watch other sports?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big basketball fan, love baseball.
What do you like, the Clippertown Clippers?
Not the Clippers, no. I'm a Brooklyn Nets guy.
Okay.
Because that's what we get to watch on our local TV,
Okay.
You get to know the team.
I do understand that the Nets are a good team if you're a New York sports fan. That's the one that you want to root for?
The Nets are not the greatest.
No? That's I thought
the Knicks aren't great either. I mean, there's really no good New York basketball team.
Did they have a lot of promise coming into the year, maybe?
Well, they've made a couple big free agency signings.
Maybe that's what I saw.
But the one is injured for the entire year, and they knew that when they signed him. So this is kind of just like a get-through year until next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much anxiety do you have about the Patriots moving forward? I mean, we all saw the product on the field at the end of this year with the Patriots. How much stress or anxiety do you have regarding what the next step is for the Patriots?
It's funny because all the time you're thinking Brady's getting older. How much longer is he going to be? And guys like you are telling me, hey, Barry, next year they're not going to be a winning team. Something's going to go wrong. Brady's going to break a leg.
Yeah.
So, it's in the back of my mind right now. It hasn't fully hit because they still had a pretty good year looking back on it, considering. And Brady hasn't officially signed with another team yet. So
that sounds like
I'm not in Panic City yet.
That sounds like a good intro into the first news item for today. Tom Brady actually came out and said that he is open-minded about his future, about possibly playing for another team or playing for the Patriots. We know that he cleared out all his things at the Patriots.
Yes, he did.
And actually moved to a new house, I believe, in Connecticut. I'm not 100% on that, but he moved into a new house. So, what are your thoughts?
Does that worry you at all?
He said he's open-minded to going anywhere that the NFL free agency takes him.
Yeah, I guess from an agent and a player point of view, you have to say that.
Yeah.
To have some weight behind the threat that you might leave. Of course, I'm hoping he comes back and that they
Are you really?
see the value that they resign him. Yeah.
That actually surprises me. I genuinely am surprised that, I know what he's done for you in the past. He's the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
But the quarterback that I saw over the last season, especially the second half of this last season, I would not want him back as my quarterback next year.
Well, listen, Belichick's always been the guy to cut people just before they're losing their value.
Right.
And not to sign the big contract. I always felt like with Brady, it would be different. That there's a special father-son type of bond there. So you want to see the end of the story wrap up, end on a high note, or at least on good terms. I don't care if they lose a lot next year, but the loyalty does matter to me. And part of me is pulling for that. I don't know if it'll happen, but I want it to.
So push come to shove. Do you think the Patriots extend an offer to Tom Brady, or do you think they say, go to another team, we're moving on?
I think they give him some offer. Because what is the backup right now? I mean, where do they go to next year if they don't have Brady?
They'd have to draft somebody
Right.
or do a trade, or there's a couple quarterbacks coming on.
You got Teddy
the
Bridgewater,
market.
who's going to be available probably.
Yep.
You could always go Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Boy.
He's always available.
Andy Dalton will be available.
Andy Dalton.
So, I mean, there are some
there's a
options out
couple.
there. Here's the thing.
Andy Dalton would be interesting on the Patriots.
From the reports anyway, Belichick did want to get rid of Brady a couple years ago when the Garoppolo trade took place. Like, that's why that happened, is because, Belichick, from what I understand, wanted, Brady to be done and for Garoppolo to take over, which would have been a great succession plan. But evidently, Belichick's decision on that got trumped by Robert Kraft, and Brady won out in the argument, and got Garoppolo shipped out of town.
I mean, that's a good decision. I mean, he won like 2 more Super Bowls in that period of time. I mean, I wouldn't complain about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Garoppolo was ready right then. But
I don't know if he's ready right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
how many passes has he thrown the whole playoffs? Like 20?
he hasn't had to. He hasn't
I'm with
had
you on
to.
that, though. Yeah.
But I don't think it's Belichick's decision, to be honest with you. I think it's Kraft's decision.
Yeah, I think Kraft does hold a lot more weight than people actually give him credit for. I mean, you saw that with the Antonio Brown situation, where the players and Bill Belichick wanted to keep Antonio Brown, and Kraft was like, "No, we're cutting him."
Yeah.
So I think he does, like, in secret. Everyone knows about Jerry Jones and how much power he weighs, but I think Robert Kraft has a lot of pull in that organization that's not always seen, because Bill Belichick's always the person that gets talked about and seems to have the power there. But final say is still going to be the owner. It doesn't matter the franchise.
And of those options that you listed, the Bridgewater thing makes the most sense to me, or either that or drafting someone. I don't know really who would be reliable you could draft this year, but we'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, be interesting to see.
They trade up and take Joe Burrow.
Yeah, no way that's happening.
Yeah,
I will lose it. I will stop watching football. The podcast will be over. That's it. If they get a top quarterback this next draft, then I'm done.
Sign and trade deal for Tom Brady in the first round pick. Get Joe Burrow and trade.
Nobody's
Tom
giving
Brady
up a first round pick for Tom Brady.
Bengals take him?
You'd be surprised.
I would be very, very surprised. So let's move it along here. Then we're talking too much Patriots here. It goes against my grain.
Goes against the grain.
All right, so let's talk about another great player here that just retired, Luke Kuechly. Retired actually the day we were recording last week, or the next morning after, something like that?
The day while we were recording, it was announced, and I'm mad that I didn't look at anything while we were recording.
So that was unfortunate. But Luke Kuechly retiring at the age of 29, I believe.
Yeah, only 8 years.
In those 8 years, 7 Pro Bowl appearances, 5 of those, 7 Pro Bowls, 7 All-Pro teams, and 5 of those All-Pro teams were first-team All-Pro.
Yeah.
So an absolute dominant force on the field. And, there's been a lot of talk about Luke Kuechly over the last week or so because, like I said, it did get released as we were recording last week, unfortunately. So I just, I think that it's something where with the injury history he had and the specific kind of injuries he was having. I see you nodding your head over there. So, what do you think about that? Did he do it at the right time?
Yeah, I think so. He had done everything he wanted to do. I think other than win a Super Bowl, obviously. I'll always remember that play, Cam Newton not diving on the ball when he had the fumble. But yeah, Luke Kuechly, awesome guy. Hall of Famer, you think, Tommy?
That's interesting. I think it's hard when somebody retires that young to for sure say Hall. Like Kelvin Johnson, for instance. Like Megatron, when he retired, like he was definitely trending in that direction. I definitely think Luke Kuechly was trending in that direction.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I just think like if you don't hit 10 years, like that seems to be he played for 8 years. He was just so young. Yeah, he was great. I mean, he was a top 3 linebacker, probably 7 out of those 8 years for the years that he played, and he was dominant. But they didn't win. They didn't win any big games. He kind of played in a smaller market in Carolina. Just not first ballot for sure.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I think he has the talent to be a Hall of Famer. I think that there are probably people in the Hall of Fame that are not as talented as Luke Kuechly for sure. But I think to be in a Hall of Fame, to the greatness over an extended period of time has to be there. And I think that retiring at 29, whereas I respect the decision to do it, I just don't know if he has the duration that you need to have.
Yeah, you have to impact the game, not change the game, but at least make like a lasting mark. So when you retire early, you do have to give up something, and maybe that is the Hall of Fame votes.
I think so.
But it's also hard when you're on a team that didn't really win anything.
Right.
Like they went to
one
Super Bowl. I think that was before he was there, though.
No, he was there.
Yeah, he was there.
Was he there?
Yeah.
All right. So they went to one Super Bowl. They didn't win it. They didn't really have any other success outside of that. They made the playoffs 1 or 2 more years, and that was really it. They were in a smaller market team. It just makes it more difficult when you have a shortened career and the market of the team's not as big as a lot of other teams.
I think he'll be a Ring of Honor guy either way, though.
I think he's a prime candidate to return.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, he had key injuries, so he's like battling all those. In a year or 2, he's still only 30 years old. He could come back fully healthy and play for a year or 2.
Yeah. But it was head injuries. That's why he retired. I don't, if you make that decision, like I value my longevity and health over another couple of years of playing. I think if you're making that decision, it's not like it was ACLs a couple of years in a row or something like that. Like this is, he thought this through and thought my long-term health, could be severely impacted by this. I think that's a different kind of mindset that goes into that decision.
Helmet technology could improve in a year or 2, and he could be more comfortable with it.
It's possible.
Plus, I mean, he's going to get fully healed in a year or 2 as well.
He seems like a type that would go into coaching to me. Just like he's got that football mind just in his blood. He needs to be on a team somewhere.
I can see that.
Linebackers coach somewhere?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I also, because I did forget to say it in the opening, I got too excited introducing Barie here. We do want to thank our Patreon supporters, Barie, Gus, and Darlene.
You're welcome.
Okay,
on
look at
behalf
that.
Of us.
Live. And then also, we do want to encourage you guys to follow us on Twitter at Grown Man's Pod or on Instagram at Grown Man's Podcast. Interact with us there. Let us know if you have any kind of questions, comments, concerns, things you want us to cover, or like we will be doing later on in the podcast today, we will be testing
some questions.
Testing. So
testing some whiskey.
Well, testing whiskey, yes.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, that's because I'm talking. And we are going to be taste testing. Maybe that would have clued it off to you. Some Maramite or Maramite.
Yeah, good friend Gus gave us a recommendation for some Schmear.
Yeah.
Put on some toast over here.
So our international ambassador of the podcast, old Gustav, over in England.
Yeah.
Britain.
He's never actually told you where he is from, has he?
I don't know. He's over there in Europe.
All right.
He's in the UK somewhere.
UK somewhere.
Yep. And so Maramite, or if you're from Australia, Vegemite. Vegemite.
We're going to try it right on the podcast because people love when we eat on the podcast.
And we're going to put a video of us trying it on the Patreon feed.
I hope it's as good as the piccalilli sauce.
Oh, that was bad.
That was real bad.
But it was funny to watch.
It was funny to watch. It made good content, but boy, was it not good.
It was not good at all. So I just want to get that out there, though. So you got another news segment here?
Yep. Next up on our news segment, we have Jason Garrett has been hired as the offensive coordinator for the New York Football Giants.
All right. That'll be, that's just me clapping. He'll be doing a lot of that, I'm guessing. He's the clapper.
Oh, okay.
I actually don't think it's a bad hire. I mean, Jason Garrett was an offensive-minded guy. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes with the Cowboys. That's for sure. But we've seen a lot of failed coaches go into coordinator jobs and do very, very well. I don't think this is necessarily a bad hire. I think he could do well with the Giants.
I think he's as boring as Daniel Jones in the Giants offense is. So I think it's probably a good fit from that perspective. You know, they
Danny Dime love.
You know me. If you got a stupid nickname, I don't like it. So, I think that Jason Garrett's a boring play caller. I mean, he wasn't awful, obviously. I mean, the Cowboys were not an awful team during his tenure there, but they weren't great either. I mean, they were just kind of middle of the road, maybe slightly above.
It just seems like with the team they had, they should have been better.
Right.
You know, great offensive line, great running back, quarterback who can make stuff happen when he needs to, and Amari Cooper is like, what else do you need? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, everyone says that the Cowboys are talented, but I don't know. They haven't put it together on the
Mike
field.
McCarthy is going to stick that key in and unlock that talent.
Ooh, random timeouts are coming to the Cowboys fan. Like 3rd and 9 with no way they're going to do anything, and like 2 seconds left, they're going to be like, timeout.
Yep. Hey.
Yeah, just waste it.
Just waste that timeout.
End of the quarter, then.
1st and 10, first drive, just call it timeout.
Maybe that's what you need.
Maybe that's what you need.
Yeah, you've got to get a little bit of water out there, hydrate those players.
That's the big difference.
That's right. So yeah, I think, I don't think it's going to be an awful thing, but if I had a young quarterback that I had high hopes for, I don't know if I'd want Jason Garrett being the person responsible for developing him.
Yeah.
All right.
My last one is Pro Bowl replacements. As the Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers have gone to the Super Bowl, those players no longer are going to be in the Pro Bowl. So Ryan Tannehill is one of the first ones that is going to take over for Patrick Mahomes. DJ Chark is going to take over for Tyreek Hill. Josh Allen is going to take over for Frank Clark in the Super Bowl. Also, Jack Doyle of the Colts is going to replace Travis Kelce. So those are the replacements for the Pro Bowl that are going to be up and coming.
All right. That'll be a real exciting game, just like every year.
I mean, we could go on for hours about how flawed the NFL Pro Bowl is.
I'll tell you what, I wait for this game all year long.
Oh, man. I tune it in every year.
Yep.
Put it right on my TV.
Yep. I sit there, wait on bated breath.
Yep. Usually it's every Monday at work. I'm like, I wonder who won that game.
Yeah.
Did that happen?
That's more accurate, yes. All right, so I got a couple more things here. Drew Rosenhaus, the sports agent for Antonio Brown, has announced that he is no longer going to be representing Mr. Antonio Brown. So we're taking a trip to AB Corner here to detention. So how do you guys feel about that?
Dropping AD or AB like some leased furniture out a window.
That's right.
Good for Drew.
At least this time is not
Good for Drew, yes.
almost hitting children with it.
That's true.
But yeah, good for him. I mean, it's kind of surprising. Drew Rosenhaus has always taken on the most troubled stars throughout his career, and yeah, it's kind of surprising that he dropped him. Honestly,
You think so?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, there's no way that Antonio Brown's coming back to football at this point, and he's doing things like, did you see the video of him? I turned it off, but he's out there yelling at the cops out in the front lawn with his children out there.
I did.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad, and and that's just the most recent thing that he did that's crazy, and that football teams don't want in their stratosphere.
So, question related to this for you guys. I'll give you 3 names. You tell me which one of them has the best chance of playing another NFL snap. Okay?
Yep.
Antonio Brown, obviously. Josh Gordon or Colin Kaepernick?
Gotta be Gordon, right? I'd say Gordon.
I think Gordon's coming back. I think Antonio Brown's a close second. Colin Kaepernick's never coming back.
I don't think Colin Kaepernick's coming back either. I think that it's a shame. I think he had an opportunity to. I think he blew it by taking that one last opportunity in the football spotlight to soapbox.
Colin Kaepernick doesn't want to play, and that's why he's not
I
coming
agree.
back.
I think that he had a good opportunity to showcase for some teams, and a lot of teams came out to see him. and he just messed around with it. And,
it's pretty telling that the wide receiver that he was throwing to on his day to shine got signed by an NFL team and not him.
Yeah. Well,
but Josh Gordon for sure, I think is number one.
I don't think Kaepernick. I would expect Kaepernick to have a chance to play again before AB. To be perfectly honest with you,
I think he's just so talented. I think teams will put up with a lot. All you need is a couple of those Antonio Brown real well punctuated tweets to say sorry. And
what team?
totally written by him, by the way.
What team?
And he'll
though?
Be back.
I mean, at this point, the only team I could think of that would possibly be willing to take Antonio Brown in would be the Seahawks. Pete Carroll's willing to put up with some pretty obnoxious, big characters.
Yeah, I mean, there's. I mean, you say that about a lot of teams, and a lot of teams are willing to put up with quite a bit.
Like AB
to get a play. I mean, if you can put talent on your team, and you can get a player like Antonio Brown who sells tickets. If you're a bad team and you're looking for a big splash to sell tickets and to get people in your stadium and to get talent on your team, you're willing to take a bigger chance.
It's funny to me to think that both of these guys were on the Patriots earlier this year. And, they did whatever they did, and I'm glad they released them. But then we ended up with receiver issues, and Julian Edelman was the only guy that Brady was throwing to. And we had both of these receivers, awesome receivers, if they're on the field and if they're healthy.
Yeah.
It's just hard. Like Josh Gordon, I mean, we talk about him as he's probably the most likely to come back. I mean, how many times has he been on an NFL team? And how many times has he suspended?
How many teams or how many times?
How many times has he been back to the same team? How many teams has he been on? How many times has he been suspended?
Yeah.
And yet he is still getting offers.
Yes,
because he's so talented. And Antonio Brown is more talented than him.
He's more talented, but the level of
absolutely
crazy and the level of you can't count on him is so much higher with Antonio Brown. Like Antonio Brown, I legitimately don't know if he would even show up to practice or to games if you were to sign him. That's how out there he is.
Yeah, the problem with Josh Gordon.
Right, he likes to smoke weed.
Yeah. But the Antonio Brown thing, that's
it's simple.
That's the level of bat crap crazy. Right. You've reached a whole new.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just he was with the Raiders. He got out of town in Pittsburgh and was just I want a new start or whatever. He got his new start. And let's go back to the helmet controversy, which seems like a decade ago when you're looking through the spectrum of Antonio Brown nonsense crap. Like the helmet situation seems like it was forever ago to me.
Yep.
When so there's just too many problems. Nobody's going to sign him. I guarantee it. All right. So that's one that I had. And the last one that I had was the Odell Beckham Jr. getting charged with assault for slapping the butt of a security guard in the locker room after the LSU championship win.
Yep.
So,
also a side note, he was also handing out cash to LSU players on live TV.
Yes.
When he was shaking their hands at midfield.
Is that against the rules?
So it's not against the rules for OBJ to do that, but I think there is issues with the players accepting it or taking it or whatever. The NCAA, being the penny pinchers that they are looking into it because they don't want any of their players to actually make money for what they do.
Yeah, how crazy would that be?
I know.
I mean, the colleges can.
Colleges make tons of money.
NCAA can.
NCAA can make all the money. So can the colleges.
Yeah.
Players can't.
Yeah, that'd be insane, right? To pay these guys for the product that they're putting out there, putting their lives and bodies on the line.
Yeah,
that would be absolutely insane.
Super crazy.
Yeah, and greedy on their part, really.
Very greedy.
I mean, the players, they really just need to learn that it's about the purity of the game, right?
Yeah, I think it'd just be unacceptable
so stupid
to make any money doing that.
Not to mention education. That's why they're really going there.
Clearly,
so they can learn.
Clearly,
yeah. Well, I mean, they're there to focus on their education. The football thing's just a side thing.
It's a hobby,
right?
Yeah, something to do on the weekends.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
but on the actual news, I don't know.
So that's all I got.
All right. Yeah. Are you going to talk about it?
Oh, yeah. I think it's stupid.
Yeah, I think it's stupid as well. I mean, if you're a security guard and you're going into a locker room after LSU has just won a huge game, like obviously it's kind of stupid on OBJ's part to do that. But you're going into a locker game after a huge win. People are excited, and I mean, locker room culture.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you slap people on the butt. I mean, that's what happens in there.
Right.
Like, what do you want to happen?
Exactly.
Like, why are you even in there?
News article here says Beckham appeared to give a police officer a butt slap while the officer, appeared while the
Video
officer,
evidence.
he tried to enforce the venue's no smoking policy. So
Yes.
They were trying to
looks
smoke cigars.
They were trying to smoke cigars. Yes,
Lighten up.
in the locker room.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
the officer
I mean,
says, "Hey,
they're not supposed to be smoking cigars in the locker room, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not supposed to be popping bottles of champagne everywhere
Also
either.
true.
But I
Right.
mean, that's what happens after a college team wins a huge game.
If you don't want to be in there for it, like, I mean, your job as a security guard is to secure.
Yep.
Right?
Make sure people are safe.
Right. Not people aren't coming into the locker room that aren't supposed to be, essentially, right? I would imagine that's his job description for being there in that capacity.
So Beckham says, "Hey, take it easy."
Yep.
Slaps him on the butt.
Yeah.
Lawsuit.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Once the guy realized who it was that slapped him on the butt, he was
Yep.
like, "Oh, I can cash in on this."
If it was a regular LSU player, nothing would have happened.
Never. Yep.
But since it was Odell Beckham, who makes millions of dollars,
Standing
he's
there
like,
with hundreds in his hand.
let me do a lawsuit, which will never go to court.
No.
And OBJ's agent will just be like, all right, how much is it going to cost to make this thing go away? And there's going to be some undisclosed number. It's going to be settled out of court, and it's going to be over. It's what always happens with celebrities and players.
So he starts the night by handing out money to players.
Exactly.
And handing out money to
Nice. Nice observation, Barry. All right, so that's all I got. You guys all good on yours?
I got
I think
one-
that's all I have.
You have one more?
Yeah,
One
one more
more.
for me. We got Larry Fitzgerald coming back for his 16th season in the NFL, signed with the Arizona Cardinals.
Wild.
Real wild.
I mean, he has been around a long time. I mean, at this point, he's just relegated kind of to a, slot receiver, and which he's kind of been for a lot of his career.
He's still talented, though.
He is still talented.
But if you're going to have a 3rd and 16 pass that you need to have, he's going to catch it.
Yep.
Usually when they do the NFL Films presents the football life of the player is long retired or even passed away. But they did that on Larry Fitz, and he's still going like 4
Did
years
they really?
later.
Yeah.
They already did his football life?
Yeah, they've already had a Larry Fitzgerald football life, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Why would they do that?
I don't know. They're like, he's been around long enough.
We'll just add some to
add
it.
it in there.
We'll do a part B when he retires finally?
Yeah.
The Kyler Murray years.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I'm glad that Larry Fitzgerald went back to the Cardinals, but I'm kind of surprised he didn't try to do like a 1-year contract with a
good
contending team.
Yeah.
Like, give him one last opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been to one Super Bowl with the Cardinals. Steelers.
At least one,
And
right?
they lost.
Yeah.
One more opportunity. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm a 16-year-old vet,
Why
like,
not?
last year you're gonna play. Like, why not sign with a team that has a
You know what
has
that
a
means?
chance?
It means that he thinks that the Cardinals have a chance.
I mean, that would be unwise.
I mean,
I would lean more towards the loyalty thing, and like he doesn't want to move his home. He's got everything set.
Yeah.
His kids going to high school.
Yeah.
somewhere
That could be.
local.
But
I
I
would
mean,
lean
think
that way
about
as
it.
well.
The NFC Super Bowl team that is representing the NFC this year picked second in the draft this year.
Yeah.
So I'm
Good
just
point,
saying.
Tommy.
I'm just saying. I mean, it does seem ridiculous to think that the Cardinals have a chance at going to the Super Bowl next year.
Early T-Bone Super Bowl prediction: the Cardinals next year.
Nope.
All right,
I'm just saying.
wouldn't pick them either.
I'm just saying. Just because somebody's not great this year doesn't mean that next year can't be good. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
All right. Let's move it along. All right. So did I come in on it too early?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right.
No, I don't think you did.
No?
Yeah, well, we'll roll with it.
Oh, you want to roll with it?
We're rolling with it.
All right. So moving into our grown man's picks from last week, and also our picks for this week. Yes, you heard correctly, because
There actually is.
There is a game.
A game this
It's just
week.
a game nobody cares about, including us, and we're gonna pick it. The Pro Bowl, AFC versus NFC. But we'll get to that. We'll get to it. We have some actual good games to recap here from last week. In the first game, we'll go with the AFC game. And that was the Titans at the Chiefs. Hattie and me both picked the Chiefs. Did you have somebody who you were rooting for in that game?
I was kind of pulling for the Chiefs, actually.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
watching
rooting
Mahomes.
for the Titans, but
I was.
Chiefs pulled it out.
Yeah.
I had Hill this year, so I kind of became a fan of his, and just watching the speed is
Yep.
fun.
Gotcha.
He is fast. But the Chiefs won this one 24-35. And, the Titans, they wanted to be able to run ball control, and they were doing a pretty decent job of it for the first quarter or so. I mean, they had a 10-point lead, and, that was 10-0, and then it was 17-7. It seemed like they were doing an okay job of being able to move the ball and, keep pace. And then the Chiefs did what the Chiefs do, and they just hit the accelerate button, and, like a Mustang with a V8 in it, just no problem at all. Going uphill, going downhill, don't matter. It just accelerated. So,
I actually think the Titans made a huge mistake in game calling. I think when they got the 10-point lead, they got a little cocky, and they tried to play fast and loose like the Chiefs did. Like, they stopped running the ball.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they needed to do. They needed to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field, and they stopped doing it.
They were having a hard time running the ball at that point. The
Chiefs
Chiefs
weren't really trying. They would, like, run once and get, like, 2 yards and be like, oh, we got to do something else real quick.
Yeah.
It's like, just give it to them 3-4 times in a row. See what happens.
I mean, yes, you could do that. I mean, the 49ers did do that. But, it's a situation where, I think that they were they realized the circumstances they were in. They had to be able to keep pace. They couldn't just sit and, run the ball 3 times and go 3 and out. They were trying to move the ball. It was, at the end of the day, the right team won here. The better team of the two won. But
for sure,
I think the Titans did a decent job. They showed the improvements that they've made this year with Ryan Tannehill in that offense, and I think making it to the championship game was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, making the championship game was an achievement.
Yeah, if you ask their fans, they're going to be happy with that.
I would imagine so.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then who knows what's going to happen next year?
Who knows?
Because honestly, if the Titans had been playing with Ryan Tannehill from the beginning of the season, they might have been having some home field playoff games this year.
Yeah.
Because they went to Ryan Tannehill too late in the year. Fortunately, they made the playoffs. Because I was thinking about that during the games. Is like we were really, really close to watching the Chiefs play, or not the Chiefs, the Steelers play in that wild card round. They would have played the Patriots. Steelers would not have beaten the Patriots. No. Which means the Patriots would have won. Who would they have played in the second round, divisional round?
The Ravens.
I think the Ravens. Yeah.
They would have played the Ravens. Were number 1 seed.
Oh no! Okay, so Patriots would have played the Chiefs.
Well, what were Patriots?
Patriots
ranked?
were 3rd seed.
3rd seed?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
so
they would have played the Chiefs.
Yep.
So who knows?
We could have had Ravens Chiefs.
That could have been. That would have been a better game.
A legitimate thing.
That would have been a better game.
If the Titans didn't play the Ravens, I bet the Ravens probably would have been moving on against anybody else.
Yeah. So interesting to see how things could have turned out there.
I think in a way they proved they weren't ready though.
Yeah.
The Ravens.
I agree.
I mean, it was the Titans that beat them, but who knows if another team could have beaten them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could have just been, that specific team's game plan and talent, matchups were just right to do it. But I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think that the Ravens showed, that they maybe the moment was a little bit too big for them this year.
I mean, you go back and you look at, like I think I said this last week, young quarterbacks in the playoffs don't fare well. It doesn't matter how flashy or how good you are. The record's not good. Like, you go back and you look at all the records of young quarterbacks, and it's not great.
So what do you think is going to happen then with Mahomes?
I think Mahomes. Well, we'll do that next week in our picks. But I mean, you can go back in history of defense versus offense as well, and you remember the classic game versus the Raiders and the Buccaneers when they were first in offense, first in defense, and the Buccaneers had Brad Johnson, and we know how that game turned out. And I think we're going to have the same scenario in the Super Bowl coming up. But we'll do our Fro picks next week.
Right. Yeah, so we'll get into that. All right, next game up here. The Packers at 49ers.
Killer.
A sad day in the Hattie household, I'm sure. Both ways, because your wife is a Titans fan.
Yep. I mean, you got to be able to stop the running game of the 49ers. I mean, they just didn't. And I mean, the Packers, I'm happy with the Packers. They went way farther than they ever should have. They had 3 talented people on offense and 3 talented people on defense. And that's really all they have.
Yeah.
And to get to where they were with that team is pretty incredible. I give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit. He had a great game plan, and the players stepped up. And they were outcoached in this game, though. I mean, he's still a first-year coach. I mean, you can't stop off-tackle runs all game long, and you give up like 280 some yards in the ground to Raheem Mostert. Like, I mean, you're not going to win a game. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo threw 8 passes total in the entire game.
Wow.
And they rolled up the score. You can't win that way.
Yeah, they were built to pass rush with the Smiths.
Yep.
And they couldn't do it. They never had the chance.
Never had a chance.
Yep. Can't pass.
They took their 2 best players out on defense because they're just like, we're not going to let you do what you want to do with those players. And they ran the ball, and it was a great game plan. Like, give Kyle Shanahan credit. We were outcoached.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
It's unfortunate.
Like, if you can't stop the run.
And then they could not.
I mean, they did the same thing time after time after time.
Yeah, Jimmy G threw 6 passes in the first half, and you were thinking, man, it's not really possible to throw less than that in a half of football. And then he was like, hold my beer.
Hold my beer. I'm going to throw 2 more times the entire game.
Went out and threw 2 passes in the second half. Wow. That's just insane. Like, from a team that is going to the Super Bowl, that won the championship game that way, to throw 2 passes in the second half, that's wild, man.
Yeah.
So...
Now, a question for you. Have the Packers ever had a good defense
No.
in Aaron Rodgers' history?
They have.
No.
Yes, back when they won their Super Bowl, they had a good defense.
They had a top 15 defense. I think they were still like 13 or 14 that year.
No, they had better defense than that.
No,
they had a
didn't.
top 5 defense.
No, they did not. Never. Maybe squeaked into top 10, never top 5.
I remember them being a good takeaway defense. They had Clinton Dix back there and James Shields, and they would get picks and stuff. And Aaron Campman maybe back then.
Back when they had Hawk and Clay.
So they would make plays. Maybe they didn't.
They've always had kind of a big play defense where they could create turnovers and stuff, but never like solid at stopping one thing. Like that. I mean, that's been the Packers' issue even since the Brett Favre days. Like, they've always been good enough to win their division and get in the playoffs, but never good enough to really make the Super Bowl because there's always a glaring hole on every team that they've ever had, and usually it's the defense.
Do you think it should have been the Saints versus the 49ers for this championship game?
Yes.
I know that wouldn't have worked out, but were they the 2 best teams?
I think so.
I mean, you can say that they're the 2 best teams, but I mean, the 2 teams that went to the conference championships are the teams that won the games to get you there.
That's true, but I don't
it's
think
football. I mean, there's a little bit of chance involved. I thought the Saints were the best team going into the playoffs, even better than the 49ers. But
do you think
they
the
didn't win.
Titans were better than the Ravens?
No.
So,
but I mean, this is the NFL. I mean, you have one game to do it, and you either do it or you don't.
That's true.
And those are the 4 teams that we had.
There's no doubt the Saints didn't do it. I mean, they went home, they lost.
Yeah,
but
and they didn't particularly play well in that game either.
No, they didn't. But I think it would have been a better game if the Saints were playing the 49ers in this game.
I think Packers were better than people give them credit for. Obviously, they were talent deficient at multiple positions, but I mean, you have a 9-1 record going into yesterday's game against winning teams. That's pretty telling.
Go ahead.
That is one thing I prefer with the NFL over the NBA. Usually in the NBA, the better team will win because it's a series, 7 games for the playoffs. But NFL, there's a bit more random craziness.
Yeah, there's a little bit of chance.
Yeah.
There's definitely more of the you need to show up and you can't make mistakes in the NFL.
Yep.
Like, that's where experience comes in. I mean, you've seen time and time again, the more experienced team usually makes it. And that's because they've been in that situation multiple times and they know how to keep their cool and not make the huge mistake. And the NBA, like, you can have a terrible game. Like, you could just completely be terrible in a game.
We're turning this into NBA corner over here?
No, but any sport, NHL, MLB, or NBA, like, you have a 7-game series.
Right now.
You can just have a terrible game where you're awful, and you can come back and be like, oh, that was a bad game. Let's playing in 2 days. Let's go out there and win. Where the NBA, the NFL, you don't have the opportunity to be terrible.
Yep.
Because if you be terrible, you're done. You're out.
You be
You're
terrible.
Done. If you be terrible.
That should be on a T-shirt. If you be terrible, you done. So I want to ask you, Hattie, do you think that Aaron Rodgers' best football is behind him?
No.
No?
No, I mean, you looked at that game, and you're against the second best defense in the league, and they were shut down with a game plan. And they came back out in the third quarter, and Rodgers was throwing dimes everywhere, trying to bring them back in that game.
Yeah, he had some nice passes for sure.
Like, I mean,
His mobility, I didn't see was there. Like
his
looked like he was
mobility is
struggling.
definitely down from what it used to be, but his passing is still there.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was more of a system guy because of what they're running this year.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't so much on him, and I think that was by design. But he's still got the best arm talent in the league.
Okay. So you think they're going to come out next year and be markedly better?
I mean, it depends on who they get. I mean, there's obviously talent deficiencies at skill positions in that team. Mm-hmm. They need to address those. If not, they're going to be a 12-4, 11-5 team and make the playoffs and be out in the divisional conference round again.
Okay.
And they're going to be battling the Vikings, it looks like, again. Mm-hmm. Maybe an improved Detroit team because,
Yeah,
Stafford being back.
Detroit's always supposed to be improved.
They could steal one from
Yeah.
them. They almost got the game earlier this year.
Yeah,
The
Detroit
Lions almost beat them.
Detroit played the Packers the best out of the division games this year. They were close both times.
And if the Bears ever figure things out, so the Packers need to take a step up. They can't stay where they're at right now.
Now, Brady,
They need inside linebacker and wide receiver for sure.
Brady going to the Bears would be interesting.
I've heard that before.
Yeah?
From a friend of mine who is a Bears fan
Really?
and would love it.
So talking about Tom Brady again.
Oh, boy.
He was hanging out with the Raiders owner in Las Vegas this weekend. Hanging out.
Raiders
being all cuddly.
Is that a Davis
Al
It
Davis?
is Al Davis, yes.
no,
his son.
Mark Davis.
Mark Davis, yes.
Old
Yeah.
haircut.
Old haircut.
looks like
Looks real childly.
yeah, I don't something weird going on
A
there.
billionaire with that haircut just doesn't look right.
No.
But yes, Tom Brady and Mark Davis hanging out this weekend.
Brady and Las Vegas just don't seem to jive together, but who knows? Maybe
I mean, he was hanging out there this weekend.
Well, he was there for the fight.
playing some slots.
Maybe he could play in the Las Vegas Raiders as it will be next year.
I think he was there for the fight. Some big fight happened this weekend.
It was a MMA.
MMA?
I actually don't, I'm not big in
McGregor?
fighting. I don't know, but I do know there was a big fight in Las Vegas. Yes.
I guess he got drunk. Brady did.
Brady
He
did?
smoked some cigars and slapped some butts afterwards.
He might have. I mean,
Who
he didn't
knows?
get
So-
charged.
He didn't get charged.
So I don't know
though.
that.
But
But
I will say though, if you've seen the Raiders stadium, it looks mighty impressive.
Yeah.
We did the episode of which stadiums would you like to see, just like purely by how
cool they are?
How cool they are. The Raiders stadium looks amazing.
yeah.
Saw some-
All the newer ones are the ones that are cool, because
Saw some mock-ups of it though, and it's
Yeah.
real impressive.
I bet a lot of money in that city.
A lot of money.
Yeah, it's all about entertainment too.
Yeah.
People will go to those games and
Oh,
love
sure.
them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not going to be having high school marching bands there for the halftime shows.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
not.
sure. So, all right. So that moves us along to the most important game of the year.
Yep.
Everybody loves it. Everybody watches it.
It's
The
the most
Pro Bowl.
the most important grown man's pick
Unquestionably.
of the year.
It's like
shaking.
everything leads to this. you
I
know?
mean, Barry is legitimately shaking right
Yeah.
now.
He is quaking out of fear that he's going to get this wrong, and we'll call him out on the next episode. So, AFC v NFC. NFC. So, who you guys got? Nobody cares.
I did a lot of research into this
Yeah,
one.
as well, naturally.
I'm just going to pick the NFC.
Okay.
I have Jarvis Landry in the dodgeball game.
All
he
right.
can catch.
There you go. And I am picking red.
The AFC.
AFC.
AFC. All
Yep,
right.
I will go NFC.
NFC?
All right. So Barry's picking the NFC. Tommy's picking AFC.
Because Drew Brees seems to care, right?
Yeah,
think
I
he
mean,
cares.
I don't know. I think the Pro Bowl every year is just kind of these guys having fun. They get money to make it. They like that the fans voted them in. They're just out there having fun. Nobody wants to get injured. Nobody wants to really go out there. It's an offensive game. Usually it's 40-something to 40-something, 40-something to 50-something is usually the score. But, I mean, you look at the quarterbacks, and I'm going to go with the NFC.
Yeah. Okay.
No Patrick Mahomes because they're in the Super Bowl, so he's not in there.
So is that what Hawaiians think football looks like?
Yes.
Because they're always asleep when we're playing football over here.
Well, that's an interesting
And that's
take.
the only game they get to see
Yeah.
live, at least. So
There you go.
Well, where is the Pro Bowl this year?
Orlando, I believe. No. That's where the
The Super Bowl's in Miami.
Super Bowl's in Miami.
I think the Pro Bowl is in Orlando.
okay,
it may be.
It's not always in Hawaii.
they changed.
It used to be always.
It
in
used to
Hawaii.
always be in Hawaii, but It might be in Hawaii. I actually don't know.
I don't know, to be honest with
The
you.
game is so important, we know where it's played.
That's right. So, yeah, I mean, the only reason I'm rooting for the AFC is because, you know.
You have a Jets player in there?
Yeah,
All right.
Jamal Adams. He's first team All-Pro.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we Packers have 2 players.
Do they?
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and Brian Balaga, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe Bakhtiari, I don't remember. Some offensive tackle.
We always read that Beluga when we see him.
Yeah.
on TV.
Nah, it's Balaga.
Yeah.
Well, that is a great name for a football player. Offensive lineman.
Offensive lineman.
Beluga.
Beluga. So where did you look it up where it was?
Yeah, Orlando.
Orlando, all right. So
I saw-
Super Bowl's in Miami and the Pro Bowl's in Orlando.
Yeah. I saw somebody on NFL Network or something pronouncing Jake Kumero's last name is Camaro. I was like, oh, all right.
Camaro. It's like, you're a professional. You should at least get that right.
Seriously.
I mean, we
Have
mispronounce
one job.
names all the time here.
We?
But,
Yes, names are mispronounced on the podcast all the time. I don't know if I'd say we mispronounce names all the time.
Ed
mispronounced
Sheeran.
a couple.
Yeah, it's possible, I suppose.
And actually, it is Ed Sheeran.
It is Ed Sheeran, yeah.
But
not Sheridan.
I could have
or
swore, like,
Sheeran.
I've never actually saw it like written out. Like, I just always heard it heard, and I could have swore I've heard like people on the top 40 call him Ed Sheridan, but
Yeah, it is what it is.
I've never seen it until like I actually like looked it up after that episode and people started making fun of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go on Spotify and look this guy up. All right, there is no D in
There is
there.
no D.
All right.
We have the static on the radio dial.
and
Sure,
there's no
whatever.
I in Jaguar, so
Yeah, you know,
it is what it is.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
Jaguars.
Jaguars is.
All right, so we're gonna try some delicious Schmear coming up.
Yeah, we got a nice yeast extract that we're gonna give a whack here. So we gotta do a little intro or transition music here so we can get some toast made,
Oh yeah.
and then we'll come back to you.
By Gus recommended it to us to try it out. We're gonna try her out.
Yeah,
Thank you, Gus.
if you guys want to do that, make sure you recommend something.
Yep, you can do so on Twitter at Grown Man's Pod.
All right, so we are back. Our bread is toasted. Our slices are sufficiently maramited or Vegemited. And we are ready to go. I'm recording a video here, so the video will be posted to our Patreon feed.
Yep.
So if you want to see our reactions to this. So from everything I've seen, any American does not care for it.
All right.
Okay? So wave to the camera, Barry.
Me
Hey.
and Barry are going to try this first, and
All
then I'll switch it over and I'll record you.
All right, so let's see what who wants to go first out of the two of you?
We'll let our honorary guest go first.
Our very well-dressed guest.
I knew he was going to find a way to say that.
All right.
All right, here we go.
So give it a sniff first. See what you think
Yeah, a
about
little
it.
sniff.
Doesn't smell bad. It smells sweet.
All
Okay.
right.
Maybe
All
like
right, all right.
caramelized onions.
Okay.
Something like that.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, we took a big bite, too.
You did.
Oh.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay, so thoughts.
incredibly salty.
That's what I've
Really?
heard. That's what I've heard.
It's like a lot of vegetables were boiled down or condensed.
Uh-huh.
It's got a vegetable tinge. for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
Hattie loves his
Wow.
veggies.
I love my veggies.
All right.
All right.
And Hattie, let's see your slice here. So that is
I went all
Barry's.
out. I
This is-
lathered her on there.
That's my slice, and yours is completely coated like it's
Hey.
Nutella.
Hey, I say I'll try anything once.
That's true.
One time.
All right, so let's see what you
I'm going
think.
to take a bite of the less lathered side, though.
Yeah, that's pure salt.
Oh, my goodness. Oh,
What are your thoughts?
Maybe.
oh.
What are you thinking, Hattie?
Man, that's just bad.
It's just bad.
It's so salty.
Oh man.
It's like you dumped an entire bottle of salt over a campfire.
It's smoky.
Yeah, like
Yeah, the
it's like
burn.
burnt. It's like burnt salt.
You're right.
That's burnt salt. That's an interesting flavor profile.
Oh man,
But why?
not good. I would never put that on toast. I would never eat that again.
Okay. All right. So
Oh, it's so salty.
It's like that Progressive commercial where they do the musical on ice, and the caption is "But why?"
But
this
why?
is what I've been smelling. It smells like old gym shorts.
Oh, it's
So that is what I've been smelling.
like
in the
I was
air.
expecting it to be salty, and I was still surprised. By just how salty it is.
Yeah, it smells like old socks. That's what I would recommend. Like, give it a sniff and tell me that does not smell like old sock.
Okay. Yeah.
You get that?
I could go
All
with
right.
you.
All right. All right, let's give this a whack.
Here he goes. Trying her out.
The confusion on his face.
It's so salty.
That's really bad. Oh,
It's so salty. Doesn't it taste like you burnt something on a campfire?
it's all over my tongue now.
It's real sticky. It doesn't go away. I rinse my mouth out with water and I still taste it.
Why would anybody want that? That is beyond me why anybody would ever eat that voluntarily.
I'm going to take another bite.
Okay.
Ooh, all right.
All right.
So bite number 2.
The reason is I want to know if it's as bad as I thought it was at first.
As bad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just as bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Ugh.
Whoa.
And a beer did not help it at all, I should say. Oh, all right.
Oh man, so my review of that is I'm gonna throw that in the garbage now.
Yes.
And not eat that again.
Never ever. Never ever ever. But maybe my son just got here, so maybe we'll try to convince him to have some.
We're gonna convince him to try some of that.
Oh, that's so bad. The beer makes it worse, I think.
Oh man,
Like the beer, like the yeast in the
nothing,
beer.
Nothing's making it better. That's for sure. But
yeah.
we have something. No, never mind. That's later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's cut this here and get this all taken care of and cleaned up.
Yep.
so I don't
We'll
have to
do
look at it.
our questions from our listeners next.
Yep. All right, so that moves us along then, now that we got the taste of that crap out of our mouth, to our next segment here. We're going to do a little bit of...
The bad schmear.
Yeah, the bad schmear.
You know what kills bad schmear? A little couple baby carrots does a real good job.
Some nice French onion dip.
Yep.
So, yes, that does a really nice job if you ever accidentally get Marmite in your mouth. Some carrots and French onion dip will take care of that real quick for you.
Secret.
Yep, it's the antidote. So anyway, so we're going to do, we only have one question from our listeners today, and then we are also going to do an end-of-the-year recap brought to you by Barie.
Yeah.
Because he had wrote down some suggestions that we had at the beginning of the year, as far as fantasy and stuff are concerned.
Yep.
So we'll be able to follow up on that and see how we did on that. Be interesting to see.
It will be interesting.
So,
I don't think we did too bad.
yeah, we'll just cut out the ones that, I'll have you edit out the bad ones.
I'll edit out all the bad ones.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to have a really good segment coming up then. So let's get into this question from our listener, and that comes from Derek Wilson at Derek67109060 on Twitter. And he asked, who's better, Revis or Sherman? And that's what we could have covered in the news this week, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was actually a little topic of discussion with Revis calling out Sherman not covering or man-to-man the best wide receiver of the opposing team. Mm-hmm.
So I'll just read real quick what Revis said during the game.
Yep.
So it was during the football game, and Darrell Revis tweeted out and said, fear of getting beat in man-to-man coverage, every snap, every play, the fact that he doesn't travel as a cornerback is lame, meaning travel with the best receiver, whichever side of the field he goes to.
Yep.
Accept the challenge is the best and shut Adams down the entire game. Do it for the game of football. Stop hiding a cover 3 zone. So, interesting to, start a Twitter beef with somebody who's in the championship game playing football.
Yep, going to the Super Bowl.
Going to the Super Bowl. But then Richard Sherman tweets back after the game, obviously, and says, I would go in on this has-been. So he calls Revis a has-been. But I have a Super Bowl to prepare for. Enjoy the view from the couch. Your 9th year looked a lot different than this. LMAO. So... nice little clap back from Sherman on that. So the question is, I mean, obviously we have that controversy going on, which is a nice little segue into it. But so who do you guys think is the best corner, Revis or Sherman?
Wow. Really tough question because they played with different defenses, both awesome defenses at the time. Sherman's kind of doing it again with a different team, which is impressive to me. Mm-hmm. Thoughts, Brett?
Yeah, I mean, they're different players, and they're both great. I think, overall, Sherman's better.
Okay.
Sherman has done it for a longer period of time than Rivas did. Yeah, I mean, he is a cover 3 guy. He's more of a zone. That's what he's played with the defenses with the Seahawks and the 49ers. But, I mean, you look at the quarterback rating against Sherman and his side of the field. Like, quarterbacks will game plan, like coaches and quarterbacks will throw to the other side of the field, game plan to not throw to him. Rivas was a shutdown corner man-to-man, and, like, he still got his shots, though. And I don't know. I think Rivas has been more dominant with the turnover factor and his changing of the game and like the way they scheme to try to go away from him more than they did with Rivas. So I'm going to say that Sherman's better.
I think the reason he's saying this is because he's a different style. So he's criticizing not just the player, but the style. And Sherman's almost saying like, okay, boomer, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Rivas was definitely a better man-on-man. I'm taking you out of the. I'm going to try to take you out of the game corner. But I think overall, I mean, what he played, I think Sherman's better.
I will say this: that I think that Sherman, with the length and the breadth of his career, is better because he is. As Sherman pointed out, how did you look in year 9 of your career? Rivas's fall off was steep.
Yep, real steep,
drastic,
real quick.
But there was no corner that has ever played that has had a better 2 to 3 year stretch than Darrelle Rivas has.
Oh, he was dominant. Yeah,
I mean, he literally just didn't get thrown at. Rivas Island was the saying.
Yep.
I mean, you went to Rivas Island in that you did not get targets, and it didn't matter if you were Julio Jones or whoever at the time was playing that was the dominant wide receiver. It's just you did not get targeted.
Yep.
That's how good he was.
True.
And I don't think that Richard Sherman's ever been as dominant at his peak as Darrelle Rivas has been, but I think that Richard Sherman his rise and fall has been more. A shallower, bell curve.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I know they both play the cornerback position. I think it's kind of apples and oranges, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you take a middle linebacker and an outside linebacker, and one's a pass rusher and one's a cover guy, they're totally different. And I think these two players in particular, for their entire careers, played completely different. And I don't know. I think if you put Darrelle Rivas in the coverage that Sherman played, he would be worse. And I think if you put Sherman in one-on-one like Rivas was, he would be worse. So I think it's kind of apples to oranges, even though they play the same position.
So I guess I guess I'll say I think that Rivas at his best was better than Sherman was at his best. Right. But I think Sherman's career as a whole is better.
Right. I would probably pick Sherman.
And you got to look at the guys around Sherman, too. He had Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor.
The Legion of Boom.
Bobby Wagner, all those guys.
He definitely played in a system, whereas Rivas was kind of all by his lonesome there in the back end of the Jets when he was at his peak in the Patriots.
And this is Sherman's 3rd Super Bowl, right? So you got to give him some props for that. Helping his team.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's impressive.
Rivas went to 1 with the Patriots and won, so... and then so Sherman's gone to 2-1-1 with the Seahawks, right?
Yes. Been to 2 with the Seahawks, 1-1.
Yep,
and now he's back with the 49ers on Sunday and going to get his 2nd.
I just don't know why, if you're a retired NFL player, I don't know why you're criticizing the play of somebody who's in the league if you're a retired player. Like, I'm not sure what the thought process is there with Rivas.
I can see like criticizing like a severely overrated player or somebody that you don't like, but I mean, Sherman's a great corner who's been around for a long time as a veteran. I don't know why you're criticizing.
I'm not sure.
Him in particular.
Yeah, usually these guys, they're cornerbacks, they run their mouth off, and then they get exposed the next year. But I'm surprised because Sherman's come back, and he's been pretty good for a while. So you wouldn't think that that'd be the guy Rivas picks on.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, the cornerback position in particular, you kind of have to be a hothead to take on that position. I mean, you're going against the fastest guys in the NFL, and you got to try to shut them down. So you need a little bit of the edge to play that position.
And I will say, I'll give also a little shout out here to Stevie, our buddy, who also asked the same question.
He
but,
did.
But at the same time he was asking the question, somebody replied on Twitter to the thing. So
so reply to us on Twitter, Stevie, if you want your little shout out on your questions.
So we can give you your Twitter handle out. Okay, so that then is what we have for questions from our listeners. So Barie, you compiled a list at the beginning of the season. Actually, this isn't something you did necessarily to prep for this podcast, But listening early in the season to our recommendations and stuff for fantasy or what have you, you decided to write down some stuff earlier in the year. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, jotted down some tips for my fantasy draft, which happened to be with you guys.
Yeah.
And just wanted to revisit a few and see how we did with the suggestions from the grown men.
Okay, so this will be interesting.
Yeah, well, this was
and we don't know.
We do not know
Yep.
before this. This is all new to us.
Yep.
So I have two players you guys said don't take in the draft. Do not draft these guys.
It's got to be somebody from the Colts because we were really big on staying away from the Colts at the beginning of the year.
Oh, wow. No, Kareem Hunt was number one.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, which he had the suspension. You didn't know when he was coming back. That was an indefinite one. I think he did come back end of the year.
After 8 weeks. So it was week 10 was his first game.
I think I said stay away from him.
I know for a fact I did. You might have also, but
All right.
I was saying don't because the problem was he would sit on your bench and be a killer.
For his ADP, yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
pretty good call on that. I'll give you guys a thumbs up for him. George Kittle, another one.
That was all Hattie. That was all Hattie.
That was me.
Yep.
How did
That
it
was
work out?
me.
How did that work out, Hattie?
I don't know. What was his?
I think he
what was his
finished
tight end
second
ranking?
overall.
Second. I said he'd be outside the top
Top 5.
5.
Yep. We had a quote unquote bet of for a bottle of whiskey, although it was a joke. We don't bet or anything like that, but it was yes, Hattie said he'd buy me a bottle of whiskey if Kittle finished outside of the top 5. And I said, ain't no way that Kittle's finishing outside.
If he
of the
finished in the top 5, and you'd buy me a bottle if he finished outside the top 5. Yeah.
No
I don't
bottles
know.
will be paid because it was all just in good fun. But
I don't know. That Kittle.
yep,
Yeah, I don't know. Second, really.
yes.
Yeah.
So look at
But he
that,
was being drafted number 1.
and he should be. I mean, he might have been the first.
Do we actually know who the first was?
Let me look up and see.
Probably Kelsey? I don't know.
It's either Kelsey or Kittle. It's
Oh,
got
yeah,
to
it's probably Kelsey. If Kittle is number 2, Kelsey's got to be number 1.
half point
All right,
PPR.
I was wrong on that one. That was me. I told him to stay away. I just don't like drafting tight ends high. Usually burns you.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but see, the thing with Kittle was, or with Kelsey was that there's so few reliable tight ends that drafting one high isn't an awful thing because you can rely on them all year, whereas other people are scrounging trying to get somebody to give them 7 points, week in and week
But if you
out.
looked at my other tips and tricks with Mark Andrews and Darren Waller, you can just pick them right up off the waiver wire. They're working out just fine.
So Kittle and Kelsey.
Get back.
So Kelsey finished 1, Kittle finished 2nd. Their average game points, though, were 15.9 for both of them, but Kittle played 2 less games than Kelsey.
All right.
So
There you go.
average points per game, though, was the same.
All right.
All right, let's keep rolling here.
Okay.
You said these guys would be steals if you got them in the designated round. So you said Tariq Cohen would be a steal in the 5th round.
I believe I said that.
I don't think that one worked out great.
No, I drafted him in the 4th round, I believe, in our draft. Yeah.
Okay.
See, too high.
And where did we say to draft him?
5th.
5th.
Okay.
He would be a steal in the 5th. So take your advice. Kind of got burned on that one.
Yeah.
So where did he finish?
I'm looking it up.
All right.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting to know. I actually want to know where he finished.
29.
Because 5th round, if he's a flex player or a running back 2, that'd be a good steal
Yep.
in the 5th round. All
Let's
right.
see. Yeah, you can keep going to the next one. I'll keep looking up Tariq Cohen.
Another one, Golden Tate in the 10th would be a steal, you said?
He got injured, I think, at the... Yeah.
So we got to toss that one out.
Yeah,
you can't predict that.
I think he got injured in the preseason, so, I don't know if it was before the draft.
That was you saying he'd be a steal.
Yeah.
I was not a Golden Tate fan this year.
And I think when Golden Tate came back, he was good.
Yeah.
He had a couple good games, I believe, yeah.
Let's see.
He's one of those guys I dropped him, and then he came back, and he had some good games, and I picked him up.
And then you started him, and then he got you like 4 points.
Yeah.
I hate those players.
They hurt. That just
All right.
kicks you in the rear.
Yep. Yeah. Why am I having such a hard time with this?
Here's one that you said would be just right. Antonio Brown.
No, that was
That was you.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Into the first
I was
round.
not an Antonio Brown fan this
all
year.
right, well, that's my bad. I don't think anybody. I will say, I don't think anybody anticipated what was going to happen with Antonio Brown.
Yeah, so do you have his ADP actually written down? Like where needs to be actually being drafted? First round?
Yeah, just
Second
at
round?
end of first round.
All right,
so
all right.
like 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, and talent-wise, you get Antonio Brown at the end of the first. I mean, you're usually pretty happy. But yeah,
this where our buddy Mark took him this year.
I wasn't a huge fan of Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham Jr. this year. I just wasn't.
The whole Browns team.
The whole.
I expected the Browns to do more. I just was expecting Odell Beckham to have kind of a disappointing year, not the entire Browns offense.
Yeah, I was very wrong on Baker Mayfield. I drafted Baker Mayfield fairly early for a quarterback, like the 5th round, something like that.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting burned on it. But you know what? These things happen. And
that's the thing with fantasy. I mean, you're building a team. You can have 1 or 2 misses as long as you're hitting on a lot of guys. And that's why you start so many players. And that's why you have a backup and you're active on your free agencies. And you just gotta, you gotta take a couple chances.
Yeah, first couple weeks especially. See someone you like, you gotta grab him.
Yeah, the best free agencies come out of the first, probably between weeks 2 to 5, are when a big guy goes down with injury, or you're taking a shot on a backup or somebody new, and you can get some good players that way. But there's a risk involved when you do that. I mean, there's a reason they're not drafted, and there's a reason they're on the free agency wire.
Yeah. So Tariq Cohen is currently being slotted around running back 40 for next year.
Okay. That's a flex player.
Hey.
Borderline flex.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
24 is running back 2 at the end of running back 2, and then you have 2 wide receivers, then your flex guy. So 40 is right around in the flex player spot.
Yeah, it's right in there somewhere.
Yeah, he just angered me this year because you
Tariq
never
Cohen?
knew. Yeah, you never knew when to play.
Yeah.
David Montgomery also played a little bit better than I think anyone
You think?
expected.
I think David Montgomery was touted to be. He was a second round, late second, early round, or early third.
They stuck with him more though. Like when they had Jordan Howard and Tyreek Cohen last year, they were using them both very well. They were both viable in fantasy.
Yes.
This year, Cohen was.
I don't think that either of the running
not
backs.
Usable.
I don't think either of the running backs really for Chicago was, anything to write home about.
I think Montgomery did okay, but I don't really remember. I didn't have him on my team, so.
Cohen got the catches, so you had the PPR.
That was the upside that I was thinking.
Yeah. One more thing
running
for you
back
guys.
40 was.
Yeah.
I also got. You were debating who should get the first pick. So who should it be? McCaffrey, Barkley, or Kamara? And
that's an easy one now.
Yeah, I picked McCaffrey and drafted him number 1.
Yeah.
Then traded him away.
Yep. That was dumb.
I mean, I made the championship, so who knows what
You got a
would
pretty
happen.
good haul for him, I think, right?
Yeah, I got Hopkins, Chubb, and Jacobs for McCaffrey.
Yeah, not bad.
Wow.
Not bad at all. But yeah,
Didn't work for me.
McCaffrey was absolutely phenomenal.
Stud muffin.
It's just wild how Kamara and Barkley were both amazing the year before.
Yeah. Kamara was super disappointing this year.
Super disappointing. Barkley was okay, but was not second overall, third overall, first overall kind of.
Missed some time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's pretty in most drafts this year, McCaffrey was going number 1, Barkley was number 2. Barkley sometimes getting chosen number 2, and Barkley is definitely not a number 2 pick this year.
I would agree.
Yep. So I had 3 things I learned this fantasy season.
Okay.
So I learned I
tips
gotta
and
play,
tricks for next year.
Yeah, play your best player. Sometimes I would look at the matchup and I see the green or the red, and you get tempted by that. It's very convincing.
Yep.
Start your starters, man.
Start your starters.
Yep.
Number 2, draft running backs. I didn't have enough. You never have enough, really.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
You start looking down the depth chart, you're like, I never even heard of this guy, but he's supposed to be good. Draft him over someone that's like a questionable receiver, number 4, because they get hurt. And then look for the good offenses. Try and grab one of those guys that's in a powerful offense, high-scoring team.
A lesser player on a better offense is better than a good player on a bad offense.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the top tier offenses in the league, if you look at your Chiefs and a couple other teams, if you get the third wide receiver in that offense, you're probably doing okay. Whereas if you get the top wide receiver for
the Jets,
the Jets,
right.
maybe he's fantasy viable, like with a bad team, number one. But outside of number one, nothing.
Right.
There's going to be no production there. If you do get any production, it's going to be very inconsistent.
It's an uphill battle.
Definitely go with the top offenses of the year and try to get wide receiver 2 or number 3, and you could do pretty well.
That was good.
Yeah.
3 good takeaways.
I like those tips and tricks. Little segue for next year.
Yeah.
Stick it in your pocket.
Far away.
Stick it in your pocket.
We're farther away from fantasy right now than we ever will be.
It's true.
And football is almost over.
I know.
2 weeks left.
Ugh.
And then it's done.
Such the
Then
most depressing time of the year.
Spring and summer months.
I know.
I love spring and summer. I do miss football, though.
I love spring and summer for the weather and the things you can do outside and stuff, but man, I miss football the whole time.
Well, thankfully, we can talk about NBA action the whole time.
The whole entire time.
We're going to have, me and Barry, it's going to be a weekly thing. We're going to do a little NBA corner with Barry and Brett.
Hey, let me know what the name of the podcast is, because I'd love to subscribe.
We know Tommy's going to be a part of this. He loves NBA.
I'd love to subscribe to whatever podcast that is.
We're going to get him into the NBA real quick.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
But that does it for this week.
Yeah, so we're going to move it along to our whiskey tasting after the music. But that's
the show after the show.
That's the show after the show, and not the show itself. So we do want to make sure to take the time to thank our Patreon supporters. You're the lifeblood of the podcast. We appreciate it. So Barry.
Gary Bus.
we really appreciate you guys. We appreciate you so much. We're gonna know all of your names. No, Barry, Gus, and Darlene. We appreciate you. And,
there's gonna be an exclusive video from this week of us trying the Marmite. Going to be posted up sometime this week.
Yeah.
So that'll be a little tidbit for you to enjoy there.
You just mash all our names into one. That's what you're doing there.
It's what. We'll figure that out for the next podcast.
We'll figure that out.
I'll let Hattie mess the name up for that. But we also want to encourage you guys to go to Twitter and follow us there at Grown Man's Pod. Also on Instagram at Grown Man's Podcast. And, if you want to email us because you're an old person, you can do that as well.
Nobody wants to do that.
No, but it's grownmanspodcast@gmail.com.
Don't even write that down because nobody's ever going to do that.
Or, like I like to tell you guys, you can just put an envelope in the mail addressed to Grown Man's Podcast and they will know where to send it. So, that concludes the show for this week. We appreciate you guys listening and stay manly. So, welcome into the show after the show after dark. So,
Tommy's favorite section.
Oh, of course
the show after the show.
It's the part where we drink whiskey, baby. Yeah. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nothing's rehearsed. It's all on the cuff.
Well, nothing's rehearsed with the whole show, really. Hattie's like, we get rid of the script that we have for the entire show.
We have like a general outline of where we're going.
We send the director home and the producers and the script writers.
Yep. All right, get out here, guys.
Yep.
It's where we undo our tie, and this week we are actually undoing a tie.
Our tie.
Barry is wearing a shirt with a tie.
I like
Very
it.
profesh.
I mean,
very professional.
He had to do all the accounting work with past podcasts, so he had to dress the part.
He's cooking the books.
You dress for the job you want.
Oh, look at that! I showed up last week in sweatpants and a sweatshirt.
Nice.
So what does that tell you?
Well, that identifies with the fantasy football audience.
That's
a bit
true.
More, so.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I will say, the way Barry's dressed and cooking the books, I mean. El Jefe's got to run for his money.
That's something to be concerned about.
He's our number one book cooker
for the motorcycle gang.
For the motorcycle gang.
But if he wants to be able to cook the books for the podcast, he's going to have to at least come on once in a while.
Yeah, he's got to step his game up.
He's going to have to.
Yeah.
All right. So today,
Barry brought snacks.
I know he
brought
cookies and saltwater taffy and popcorn.
Jeff only brought a bottle of wine. I mean, come on.
That's true. Which is nice and appreciated.
Yeah, it's very appred. But up your game, Jeff. Come on.
Yeah,
Not to mention a family member. So.
That's true. That's true. And she was doing needle pooing. But not a grown man, so she couldn't be on the show. All right.
That's not true.
So, we're drinking a mystery whiskey today. Hattie doesn't know what it is.
A mystery to me and Barry.
Yes, to you two. I obviously know because I'm the one that made it a mystery. I shrouded it in paper, in brown paper and tape.
Yep.
So I know what I think about the whiskey, but
All right.
let's go to Barie first. Barie, you're probably drinking the least whiskey here. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I'm kind of a novice whiskey taster, so I'll give the layman's notes. I have 3 words to describe this whiskey. I have rosy.
Rosy. All
Okay,
right,
so like a little floral.
Okay.
Okay.
I have oaky.
Okay.
So
Those are both good
Yeah,
good
those
terms.
Those are both good.
I assume it's aged in oak,
Yep.
and warm.
Very nice.
Yeah, you get that nice on your
Yep.
tongue.
It is 100 proof whiskey.
So
So
50%, a little higher than normal.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? Generally favorable or generally not favorable?
Of the 3 whiskeys I've had in my long life, it'd have to be number 3.
Ooh, last place.
Yeah,
That's okay.
I don't dislike it.
the two he's had is Bastille and Wild Turkey. So
All right,
Yeah,
yeah,
two
it'd
good
probably,
whiskeys.
be third in that
Yeah.
list for me as well.
Okay.
All
So-
right. I mean the nose is very very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell it's a corn based whiskey, very mashy,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a little alcohol-y. Wasn't my favorite nose.
yeah, it's definitely got a sweet nose. I got like a candy smell to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, a little candy.
A little bit of caramel or vanilla notes, kind of lingering around in the glass.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. My palate is it's very sweet up front. It's kind of like a punch in the face of sweet. Very grainy and alcohol-y. Not my favorite.
No.
It's kind of a one-trick pony. It comes in real strong with the sweetness up front, and then kind of lingers, and there's nothing there. There's no lingering palate or anything on the back end there. Not my favorite. It's a one-trick pony there.
I'd say like the taste on it for me is definitely sweet up front, but it's kind of like a cinnamon licoricey kind of candy flavor to it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. That's what I get. It's not a lot of complexity in it, but it's first of all, it's not a super expensive whiskey. This is about $25 a bottle. So very reasonably priced. And I think for 100 proof whiskey, I think that it's, reasonably easy to drink.
Yeah,
I definitely had some that were harder to drink.
Yeah, it's not super, it's not rough.
No.
It's just kind of alcohol-y.
Yeah.
Like you kind of taste it, which is normal for 100 proof.
Yes.
But yeah, it's not super rough or harsh or anything.
Yeah, the flavor doesn't last a long time, but I don't think the flavor's I think it's got a decent flavor while it's there. But yeah, there's not a lot of complexity. It doesn't develop a whole lot on the palate. But
All right.
But in general, I would say it's like I said, I found this whiskey because when I was camping, doing some winter camping about a month or so ago,
Yeah.
one of the guys that was camping with me had brought a flask with it, and I liked it a lot, so I ended up buying a bottle of it when we were when I went to the liquor store looking just for a regular bottle.
All right.
And so the whiskey is, we're unwrapping it here.
The grand reveal.
All right, is Old Granddad.
Old Granddad.
Oh, some OGD. Yes, that's have you ever seen it or had it before?
I've never seen it or had it.
You'll notice it now that you've seen it because it's in every liquor store.
High rye.
Yeah.
I like the picture on it. Wow.
All right.
So
Nice looking gent.
yeah, so it's bottled in bond and 100 proof whiskey. But yeah, so it is a bourbon. I didn't even look at the bottle to see if it was bourbon or just an American, but yep. So there you have it.
All right. So what's your rating of that one, Barry? You had to give it a score.
Out of what?
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
Out of 10.
I'll give Old Granddad a 3.
3.
Wow, that is low.
Well, my score is a 4.0.
What?
It's not super rough, but it is.
That's too low.
Nah, it has one flavor. It's got nothing else. There's no complexity. It's got alcohol taste to it. It's real corny.
This is better than the Elijah Craig. This is better than the Elijah Craig, and you rated the Elijah Craig higher than that.
4.0. That's what it gets from me. It's
a solid 7.0.
Subpar.
It's a 7.0.
7.0 for that? No way.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's 7.
Nah, it's not a 7.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be not to buy this bottle.
Well, don't listen to Hattie. Give it a shot. It's a good whiskey. It's a good daily drinker.
I'll make a comparison for you. Rating this whiskey a 7.0 is like giving Phillip Rivers a top 5 quarterback rating.
Well,
Of all time?
everybody's scale is different. Okay, so I will say that. So like
Yeah, taste is definitely subjective.
it is, and rating of anything is subjective also.
Okay.
I have never rated any whiskey I've ever had at a 4.0. Hattie, you crazy person.
Hey.
So, based on the grown man scale of liquor rating we have done over the years, yes, 7 or over the year.
I think this is the lowest score I've given a whiskey on the show.
I know for a fact it is.
Is it? All right.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
The people at Old Granddad are going to be mad at you, Brett, and me.
The show is brought to you by Old Granddad Whiskeys. So
they can reach out to us on Twitter and tell us how wrong we are about their whiskey.
Yeah, and if Hattie being on the podcast is a deal breaker for you guys, just let me know and we can talk. Just hit me up on my personal DMs. All right.
Thank you guys for joining us at the show after the show, and we'll see you next week.